This is an FIE Composer 2.0 help video. The larger topic is the project database, and this specific video is on the scene manager. So we're just going to go into Composer here. The scene manager can be found in the applications menu, which you can get to through the application button in the upper left-hand corner or by clicking A. Okay, and on the right column in the middle is the Manage Scenes button, which you can get into also with the S key. Now, the first thing that you end up in when you try to manage scenes is you get a selection menu for which project you need to work in, because scenes are digital assets that live within a project, and so you need to figure out which project you're actually working in order to manage the scenes. In this case, I'm just going to show you, go into the EPI project in which I already have some scenes created, just to show you some existing works. So we're just going to click on the EPI button here. And then it lists the scenes that are in the EPI project. I currently have 2 listed in here, and what I'm going to show you now is that you can not only you can manage the scenes, which are assets at this level, but you can also manage the versions of those scenes. So if we take a look inside this one at the top, Beat MechaMaster Angles Generic 01, just by clicking on it, is that we actually get into a version manager, and there's actually one version listed for this already. Okay. This manager at the very lowest level, it has an add button and a delete button, which is fairly typical. And if I try to add one, it actually says cannot add a new version from here. And the reason for that is because a version is something that you need to create from an open scene. You can't create an empty version that has nothing in it. You need to have a version that you're working on and save it out. But if I wanted to, I could delete this existing version with the delete key. You can save, of course, multiple versions of each scene, and in that sense, Composer actually keeps versioning, takes care of versioning for you. You don't have to deal with it as separate files. It has a concept of a scene and versions of that scene that you modify through time, and it keeps track of them here by keeping track of the date and time that you created them individually. All right, so let's get out of the versions for this particular scene. I will go back into the Scenes Manager. So let's start something a little simpler. Let's go into our Foo Movie Spectacular project and take a look at its assets. Now, there are no scenes created here, so there's nothing to select. But if I hit the Manage button at the upper right-hand corner, we get a manager from which to create scenes. Okay, so let's say within the Foo Movie Spectacular, we have 4 scenes. So I'm just going to click the Add button on here in the lower left-hand corner, and we'll call it Scene.01. And it creates it. Now let's create 2 more. Now I haven't put anything into this scene. I've just created the concept or the asset for holding scene 1's file. I'm also going to create scene.02, scene.03, and scene.04. Okay, and so here they are. They're all listed and they all exist. And we'll just close out of the manager, which will give us back to the selection screen. And we'll just take a look at, say, the contents of scene 1. Well, it's empty. There are no versions in the scene because all I've done is created an empty container or an empty asset for the scene. Okay, if I want to put versions of that scene in here, I have to go and create them. In fact, why don't we just do that where we are right now? I'll just get out of here and go into the Scenes menu and say, we have a scene in here. You can see it. There's a guy. There's a thing in here. I'll say Scene, Save to Asset. Let's put it in Foo Movie Spectacular. Go into Scene 1, and it says, are you sure? Save this to asset scene.01. Yes, save. We'll say OK. And then if we go back into the application menu, go back into the scene manager, go back into Foo Movie Spectacular, and go into scene 1, we'll see that now we have a version listed under scene 1. Okay? We'll close out again, and maybe I'll move the person to stand on top of this box, because actually, I've updated my idea of what the scene is, and now I want him standing on the box. Go into the scene menu and say Save Version, and close out. And now let's take a look. We'll go into the Applications Manager, Manage Scenes, Foo Movie Spectacular, Scene 1. We'll see we have a second version of that scene listed here. Okay? And in fact, if I really want to save space and I want to make life easier, I can grab the older version and I can say delete. Say you're absolutely sure you want to delete these versions and say yes. And I'm left with just the version that I wanted. Or, I could leave the previous version because maybe I want to go back to it at a later point. Maybe I don't think it's so safe to delete them. And generally, the idea is that it's going to keep a stack of your versions here so that you can always go back to earlier versions. And it's going to give you the most recent one at the top, which is a useful thing. So we'll close out here. That is the scene manager, which during normal sort of usage, you may or may not use all that much. There are other ways to create scenes and create versions from more eloquently within the program. But if you need a manager to get a top-level view of just the scenes in your project in abstract, getting to it through the application menu is a good way to get that top-level view, right? And that ends this video.